Ready to stop spinning your wheels and start moving your business forward? You're in the right place. On each episode of Accelerate to Achieve, we'll discuss a crucial step in the journey, offering tips and advice that you can apply immediately within your own company. From financial management to customer success to digital transformation, we'll cover it all while providing leadership lessons from top industry insiders. In just 15 minutes, you'll be inspired to build momentum through action and achieve incredible results. Welcome to Accelerate to Achieve, the podcast that moves you from question to answer and idea to execution. Hello, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Accelerate to Achieve podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Walter, the founder of Parrels Advisory. In 2010, Tony Hayward, the then CEO of British Petroleum, infamously stated that he wished he had his life back. Now, this was as 5 million barrels of oil spilled into the Gulf of Mexico from the Deepwater Horizon oil rig. Now, while the ramifications of this PR blunder are pretty obvious, often the way we conduct ourselves and communicate can have unseen impacts and disrupt our efforts. Now, joining us today to talk further on this is Derek Chandler. Now, as a commercial and personal risk advisor, as well as a business strategist, he's helped numerous individuals and organizations better prepare for and address the future. Derek, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Ryan.
So, as we jump into this, I'm wondering from your perspective, is this just all a lot of hype? Do words really matter? Are we getting too soft with all this?
Well, Ryan, the one thing I'm thinking about when it comes to communication is a line that I have on my email that I always send out. It says, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made you feel. That's actually a quote from Maya Angelou, if I'm saying her name correctly. The one thing is how influenced people are when it comes to things that are said or done through media, through interpersonal relationships, anything. So that's one thing that I'm interested in what you said to start our podcast, kind of as a follow-up to that.
No, I think that's a great point. I often call that impact, right? Sort of the unseen impact. You don't realize necessarily the influence or the downstream result. I'd be interested from your perspective, why do you think perhaps folks don't understand what that impact is, or where are they sort of missing the mark, or maybe examples that you've seen from your perspective?
From my perspective, obviously, everybody has their face in an iPhone or on TV or whatever, especially technology today, and it's amazing how influenced we are from what we see, not necessarily what we know. So when it comes to my business, obviously insurance, commercial insurance, personal insurance. I always wonder when I keep on seeing different individuals picking certain carriers, why? I always try to get to the bottom part of why. And that's one thing that I took a step back. It's been a couple of years being involved in insurance that I sat there and said, I said, why was you choosing this carrier over another? And it came back to media. It's actually streamed towards media. And I don't know if you want to give me more time, Ryan, to develop more of that theory that I'm thinking.
No, I'd love to hear more about that, because I think where that goes is really, something we probably can extrapolate even further for the audience. So tell us a little bit more.
Right. So obviously insurance is as interesting as watching paint dry. But when you're a kid and you're in high school or elementary school, you don't dream of being an insurance agent. But I find it more and more interesting each day as I go by. So one thing that's interesting, I found in my theory when it came to insurance is that I noticed that I kept on seeing the same carrier, for instance, Geico, Progressive, these different carriers all the time. And I, like I said before, I said why. The main impact, I would say, is television media. Now, obviously, insurance is not something that's on your front of your mind, because it's actually something you really don't want to think about. The only time it comes into play is when something bad happens. It's not like a, McDonald's or Nike, or they have a product that can be promoted by athletes and all that kind of stuff. Well, correction, I believe Peyton Manning does a little thing for Nationwide. But the subject itself is not really that interesting. It's basically, dirt or rocks or whatever whatever it may be. So insurance, when you look at the commercials and when you take a pause and say, okay, you're watching your program or whatever, look how many commercials come up for insurance, something that's so dull, so boring. What are they selling? They're not selling insurance. They're selling a gimmick. They're selling a logo. For instance, we'll use an example of obviously Progressive. Progressive is one of my, quote unquote, lower carriers when it comes to protection, properly protected for a family. Now, with Progressive, the first mind that comes to you is flow. Why? They make it entertaining. They entertain the audience. That's what they're all about. They're trying, if you notice the commercials, rarely do they even talk about the product. They're trying to entertain you. Geico is the second one. Geico commercials I find very amusing. They're probably one of my more favorite commercials when they come on the air. But if you take a step back, there's a lot of times where I sit there and say, take a step back. It's like, what exactly are they selling? They're selling a gecko. So, it's amazing how much the media and how much you say and how much these different things affect the way you think. Now, when you sit there and I'm independent, I don't care who you go with. The main thing is I'm looking for the best protection for the best price, yada, yada, yada. But when I keep on seeing these over and over again, I go back to the same question, why?
I wonder, outside of us leaving Brad Paisley out of this conversation, because we can't just say it's only Peyton Manning, of course.
Yes.
I wonder, though, how much of that sits with the individual, because obviously the advertisers, TV, have kind of figured something out. I think we can say this expands beyond the just the particular insurance arena. There's a lot of people who have kind of figured out how to connect. I think we probably can make even cases that follow social media. You'll see the folks who have figured this out. So what is it about people that maybe these folks have picked up on that the rest of us perhaps aren't as in tune with, that's making these things so successful?
Marketing. It's 100% marketing, and it's our personality as human beings. For instance, if you get a song stuck in your head, okay, that sticks in your head. I believe it's called an earworm or something like that. That keeps on sticking in your head, no matter how bad that song is. And you go, oh my Lord, I got to get this song out of my head. So what do? You have to listen to other songs. So you kind of, wash it out. It's the same kind of concept. So they're actually thinking they're getting away from what they're actually selling, and they're trying to go to your personality. As human nature, we love repetitive things. We love repetitive things. We love things that are easy. Okay, it is human nature. We also love things that are entertaining. So that's what they're trying to do. I don't know when it started. When I can think back, I think of the caveman from Geico. That was a pretty thing that kind of hit on. And I think the other insurance carriers did it as well. They jumped on as making it more and more entertaining. It's something that sticks in your head. I'll go back to the jingles, or sayings, go to Geico and in 15 minutes could save you 15%. I don't know if there's any logic to that, but it just sticks in your head. We'll go back to Peyton Manning singing, Nationwide, what's the jingle? Come on, Ryan, you know it.
Oh, I don't think you want me to sing, but I think it's all Nationwide's on your side, if I recall how that
Nationwide, goes. Right. Nationwide is on your side. It got so popular that it changed to chicken parm, you taste so good. What? That's how much we're manipulated, that it's just a jingle. It's a jingle that goes in your head. So what they do is, for instance, Geico, if you know any facts about Geico has no bricks and mortar place. It has no agents. It just has a call center. But yet Geico is like third, the last time I checked the figures, third in the major insurance market. The reason is because how much they spend on advertising, and just add those, at some point, Geico could have up to 15 to 20 campaigns going simultaneously, that have nothing to do with each other, but it's all just entertainment. It's human nature that we just enjoy things. They're trying to make a dull subject and put fluff into it. That's what, that's technical term, shall we say.
Yeah, no, technical term. And it's probably how things like the USA Today took off at one point too, providing that, no insult intended, but that fourth grade reading level for everybody, simple, easy to digest, to a point where, now again, it didn't have any catchy jingles or, animated reptilians wandering around, but at the same time, they made it simple for folks to get through. And I think they always talk about attention spans and other things that people have. So I guess,
that's one thing that you pointed out, is that our short attention span. You want it quick and easy. And that's the way we are. I believe Burger King started first. It was like, your way, right away. I always think about the billboard. Once you have a billboard, you have a commercial that's 30 seconds to 60 seconds. Your attention span is very minimal at most. And most of the time when you have commercials on, a person walks away, uses the restroom, gets something to eat or whatever. Now, in this situation, as a billboard goes by, a billboard will come by in 5-10 seconds. So it has to be quick and easy, few words. If it has a lot of stuff in it, it just goes by and you forgot about the billboard. That's the kind of thing that I think these insurance carriers are doing. You see a little, amphibian. You see Flow. You see Havoc, I believe, is from Allstate. They're different lingos. What is it? Liberty Mutual. Think of Liberty Mutual. This is one thing that I just love. The Liberty Mutual tune is Liberty, Liberty, Liberty. They couldn't even think of 3 words. They just kept on repeating the word. Why? It's to stick in your head. Liberty, Liberty, Liberty. It's just adding a different tone. It's like you just said, the USA Today, at a 4th grade reading level. Think how simple that is. It's really amazing if you take a moment, step back, and just look and listen.
So I guess the question then, though, is obviously these are complicated subjects. Most of us probably don't even want to think about things like insurance, but I think all over the place we have difficult topics, conversations, whether I'm an employer with someone, whether I'm trying to sell you insurance. And, I guess my question for you is, I think we know people aren't going to sit there for 30 minutes. They're not going to just have numbers in front of them. In fact, if I remember, there's a great line from the Lego movie, which is numbers, 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 business, 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 all meaning that they're basically boring the folks in the meeting to death and nobody's paying attention. So I guess my question for you then is, obviously you see this and there's really not much behind it. We all have a need at point to get a message across or convince people to do something. So what are your thoughts then? Where do we go? I mean, if it's perhaps avoid, the fluff, but we know folks aren't going to necessarily sit down for a 30-minute lecture on risk and exposure, what should we be doing? What do you think?
What I think you should be doing is, it's obviously your network. It's networking, not necessarily your business network, but your personal network. It's amazing. I'm a part of different, obviously I'm involved with hockey. There's a lot of people that walk in and out. A lot of people I know personally, but I'd say maybe 2% I actually know what they do for a living. Just open up and just say, hey, this is what I do. Not everybody out there is, this is how we glorify sometimes these athletes because they're always on the screen. We glorify actors and actresses, all that kind of stuff because we see them all the time. Hey, just talk to people. Just, there's a lot of teachers out there. There are a lot of different there's sales in different kind of revenue or different kind of industries. But, I would just say, don't believe, and I know, I try to stay away from politics and all that kind of stuff, but, don't get influenced by stuff you see on your phone or see stuff on the internet or see stuff on the TV. Talk to people that you trust, extend your friendship, extend to know people a little bit more than you usually do. And you'll be surprised, I don't know many people that, for instance, the team I coach, I don't know if anybody knows, maybe 1 or 2 that I'm actually in the risk management business. Maybe it's out of fault of my own, possibly. But I'm not fond of people going around going, this is what I do. Here's my card. Here's my card. Here's my card. No, it's just getting to know people a little bit better. Now, if in the situation where you might trust me as, a friend, a confidant, hey, why don't we, try some things in, what we do for business as well. That's the only way that I can think of. Word of mouth is another great way of, talking to other people that you trust. They might know somebody. It goes down the line. I still remember, I always remember in my head what Jay Leno says, you talk to 10 people, or, if you're kind of a tool to 10 people, they're going to go and tell 10 more people. They're going to tell 20 more people, but if you're really nice to one person, they're going to tell 2 other people, and then they're going to tell 3 other people. It's about reputation. So you have to be knowledgeable, kind, and honest. I think those are the three big ones.
So let me, as we wrap up here, ask you one last question, bit of advice you might have for folks. I want to flip the script a little. So less from the perspective of the person going out. Let's talk about the person who is trying to get something accomplished with the group. Maybe we can leverage your coaching experience here or something. Everybody has different understandings, different experiences, takes your words to mean one thing or the other. In fact, I can say one thing and both of my kids interpret it a different way, and that's just within my family. So when you're trying to get something done, when you're trying to move the ball or the puck, what do you need to do? How do you take accountability and responsibility for it? And kind of what advice do you give someone as they're trying to move everyone, particularly when it comes to how they communicate, how they explain what they want?
I think each person and each situation is different. If you go in and sit there and try to convince a whole group, this is the way we should do it, I don't think you're going to be successful. I think there's different types of personalities. I think there's different types of backgrounds that everybody has to consider. So I think it's more of not necessarily talking to a group, because something that you say to a group can be interpreted differently by one person as another person. I would prefer kind of more one-on-one. I would prefer time. That's one thing that really affects, I think a lot of when it comes to sales, and I think when it comes to people's personality, is that they want things quick. And I don't think that's the way to do this. I think when it comes to sports or practice, practice. The practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice does. So it has to be in their personality that to sit there and say, keep on working. If it's in business, personal, whatever, it's not going to happen overnight. So you as in sales, or you are a consumer itself, just take a step back. Like I said in the beginning, it's just saying, listen, look over time. I think that's probably the best advice I could probably give. If you see a person that's consistently, not just once, but consistently giving, consistently there for you, consistently that's a good friend. But also that's somebody you could probably trust in business and personal life as well.
No, I think that's great. And I think the comment you made throughout about really taking a step back to appreciate perspective, making sure the message is getting across, understanding not everybody perhaps takes it in the same way, but that's going to come from time, individualized interaction, communication, and just repetitiveness to it, points to sort of see what you come across, I think is really critical. And again, kind of can apply to almost any situation. So it's really insightful for everyone. And thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And that's one thing, if I may say, when it comes to, I kind of pull it back to coaching, is that, you keep on, a lot of people are stuck in the Sports Center highlight kind of thing. And it's like the goals or the beautiful plays and all this kind of stuff. And, when to emphasize that we're taking a step back. And I keep on, sometimes it's unfortunate with parents or kids or whatever, how they're influenced is that, hey, how many goals, how many, whatever. Take a step back and say, hey, it's just a game. It's just a game. And let's look at the things you're learning beside it. That's the same thing when it comes to business as well. Let's just take a step back. Sometimes these people ask for insurance. I'll get phone calls and say, hey, I'm buying a car. Well, really, why did you knew you were going to, you took your time to pick the right car. Why didn't you just sit there and say, hey, I need insurance too? It's something as an afterthought. So that's why I say, when it comes to life, I'd say it quite often, take a step back, take a deep breath, and see everything that's going on in front of you.
Well, Derek, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all this information. We really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
We need to remember the intention of our words. And often they may fail to translate to the actual impact they have and we were hoping for. Now, while we may choose to chalk this up to other people, they just not getting it and not understanding us, if we're really hoping for a particular result, doesn't the responsibility really sit with us in the end? Thank you for listening today. I look forward to joining you on the next episode. Until then, I'm Ryan Walter, and remember that solving your biggest business problems begins when you decide to accelerate your approach and achieve more.
At Parrels Advisory, our focus is your business's future. Having the right insight, experience, and perspective makes all the difference when tackling far-reaching issues within your company. We are here to simplify the steps, unlock your potential, and move you forward, making your vision a reality. We've helped startups achieve massive growth, mid-sized businesses navigate digital transformation, and enterprises embrace innovation. Wondering how to jumpstart your business and move it forward? Contact us to discuss your audacious goals during a complimentary consultation.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Accelerate to Achieve. If you're enjoying the podcast, please subscribe and leave a review wherever you listen. Don't forget to share the show with others who want more for their businesses. Got a question, feedback on the program, or interested in being a guest? Simply go to parrels.co/A2A-podcast and send us a message. That's parrels.co/A2A-podcast. To learn more about our work or to book a consultation, visit us at parrels.co/contact. Until next time, remember that solving your biggest business problems begin when you decide to accelerate your approach and achieve more.